Okay. All right. So we were just talking for about 5 minutes. And just found out that we didn't have any audio.
So if you're watching, you might want to turn up your volume because there was no audio.
Don't turn it down, in fact.
Or turn it down now, yes.
Yes, so what were we just saying?
Oh, wow. It's like, rewind.
So, I'm Ezekiel.
And I'm Sarah.
And we're here today for another episode of Marriage Matters Live. Yes, indeed.
We do love a live stream.
Indeed.
All the fun.
Yeah, thank you for everybody. Thank you for letting us know there was no audio on the stream. You know what was funny? Listen, you know what's funny?
Right, so I said to him, just before we went live, I said, oh, hun, how do you know the mic's on?
No, I said,
what happened?
I was just checking the kit. I said, it says you won't believe it, but the mic is actually not connected.
On. Yeah, not connected.
So obviously we connected the mic, everything was there, but we had done some technical changes just before the stream started. Yeah. So Sarah was like, that's why we need to ensure that we do some checks beforehand.
And I was like, we should always make sure that we ask the community if they can hear us. And what did you say?
Yeah, I said, no, we don't need to do that. If you guys don't hear us, you're gonna let us know. So we were just giggling away, started talking, and here we are. All right. So another cracking episode. We were just saying, although you guys couldn't hear us, that I was saying I'm biased. I reckon I'm biased towards these streams. I think they're always going to be great streams. Yeah. And not because we're absolutely fabulous, but because we believe that both you guys and us can learn from this. Mm-hmm. Just before we started, I was saying before that Sarah was praying before the stream started, and her prayer was, Lord, I hope that the people on the other side help us to assist the other people on the other side. We hope that they will learn and draw something from this experience. She said, but not only that, may we learn something, may we draw something. So, and I think that's powerful because we are going to be blessed from this regardless. We know that we're going to learn something. And then we were talking about Lady Chamingos and
all the other powerhouses,
some of the other really great contributors from the community, and we were just saying that some of you guys need to be on this side of the glass so that you can assist us. So what we're talking about today says
restoration. Yes, was what I think.
Yes,
restoration.
Yes, indeed.
In many different areas, because a lot of the times, when we think about restoring broken relationship, the first thing we think about is like a married couple and stuff like that. Yeah. But sometimes that's not always the case. Sometimes it could be the fact that within the marriage, the home itself needs restoring. Children, the environment, the things that are happening, and all that kind of stuff. Communication with everybody in the family. It's not just the husband and the wife sometimes. So restoration.
So I think this is really
restoring
key.
What is broken.
That's right, and I think that's key. I think it's key. One of the things that we talk about a lot of the time, every episode you're going to hear it. We talk about planning and the structure of marriage.
That's right. Yeah.
But I think when we think about that, what we really need to consider is, what is the state of play today? What is the state of play today? Because we've progressed from where we were to where we are now. And some people are just starting their journey today, or actually today realizing that they need to understand where they are.
That's right.
So that they can hit the destination that they want to get to. Yeah. So I think not only, I won't harp on you guys about planning today, I'll save that for the next stream. But I think what's really, really important is kind of evaluation. Really considering where we are. When I was taking notes, one of the things I wrote down was analysis of your situation, basically. And like I said just a moment ago, like, where are we today? So when you think about your marriage, when you think about your relationship, and the dream that you had of marriage well before you got started, you're a young girl, young man, thinking about one day I'll be married, or maybe not so, kind of in my case. What did you see at that point in time? And how close are you to that moving target today?
Yeah, basically. I was even just going to add, even in some people's cases, they never thought they would get married, and they ended up making a decision to get married, because some people are quite like, I know I'm fine to stay single, don't want no kids, it's fine, I'll just let everyone else get on with it, kind of thing. But then they find themselves on the marital side of the fence later on down the line. So there are obviously a different range of people. So
absolutely, totally agree. So where to start? I think one of the key areas to really talk about, and we've got a few good streams coming up in the weeks and months ahead, but I want to talk about communication. For us, communication is paramount. It's foundation to a good friendship, a good relationship, and I want to talk about restoring communication in marriages. I feel as though a lot of people take it for granted. I think we might have shared it with these guys a few times, but early on we spoke and spoke and spoke, and I want to say Sarah still talks and talks and talks. I'd say she inputs conversationally a fair amount in our relationship. However, the passion and the kind of the vigor, is that the right word? Maybe, that you used to use when we were younger, I think it was at a much faster pace.
Yeah. I knew he was going to say that.
And I feel over time we've kind of adjusted to each other.
Yeah.
And I feel that's one of the challenges that we see in relationships today, where people adjust to a pace that is uncomfortable, basically, and they conform to it. Yeah. When I say uncomfortable, I mean a pace that's not good
for the relationship.
Not healthy for the relationship. So I remember way back when we were together, we started out. I realized this girl can talk, boy. She could talk for the country, and we were. My dad kind of had always encouraged us to kind of be transparent. Be good listeners. Okay. Be good listeners. Be observant, but be transparent in our kind of our circle, within our circle. Always kind of be free and kind of be open. Let the other person know how you feel, kind of thing. So one thing I think that was interesting was we were growing together with each other. I was kind of like, all right, let me let her talk. This is who she is. Let me let her talk. And I will obviously I'm learning from you. I'm learning about you, but let me let you talk. But honestly, if she was still talking the way she was talking way back then, like I don't know what would be going on here now, because I kid you not, it was a lot. It was real intense. But I think you were excited maybe at that young age, and we were connecting, obviously, albeit extremely young. Yeah. So we were just trying to find our way, and your way was kind of like just really,
talking. Yeah, I remember us spending hours and hours on the phone. It was so bad that my mum actually got me my own phone line in my room. Like, she was like, every time she'd be like, I'm trying to get through. I can't get through. Who are you talking to? Are you talking to again? You know? So she got to the point where she was like, nah, this girl can chat. 2, she's not stopped talking to this boy. So, you know what, let me help her out. So my mum got my own phone line, and that was when I realised, wow, we really do talk a lot. But I guess for me, that was just me getting to know you in a sense, and obviously getting to feel getting to a comfortable place, and really, I guess, just expressing myself in a sense. Because I feel like some people express themselves through communication, through talking. Some people express themselves in different ways. You know, some might write a letter. That was more you. You'd like words really on paper.
Yes.
And, you know, some people, it's more like, you know, I'm going to send you this song, and this song's going to tell you how I feel. Like, reading between the lines, so, you know, kind of thing. but yeah, I just thought...
Is that what you wanted to do for
No,
me?
babe.
Okay.
No. But I just kind of feel like it's a way of expressing, you know, and I think sometimes when a relationship gets very difficult, even someone who does express through communication can get to that place where they don't feel like they can communicate with the spouse anymore. Just because, one, it might be taken the wrong way, just the breakdown anyway in communication. So it is good if you do have a spouse that has a good expression of communication, because then, you know, like there are times where you're not saying anything and I'll just like, okay, I'll just start a conversation, and that can just keep us going, especially when you've got a lot on, or, you know, you've got different things to focus on, and I'm like, okay, I need his attention. I would normally start by, okay, let me start a conversation, and that will just then take us to a whole nother place. Absolutely. Kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is pivotal. And I want to talk to you guys. What do you guys do when your spouse can't talk to you? When you feel you can't talk to your spouse, or your spouse isn't talking to you? So obviously, silent treatment is a big thing. And it's funny, I was reading a few articles about this a while back, and people consider it to be like really, it's like a real vindictive kind of emotionally traumatic experience, when,
because it kind of is.
Yeah, when someone's refusing to speak to you and kind of giving you what they want. But I feel as though that there is a balance there. Sometimes talking in certain environments isn't fruitful.
That's right.
It isn't helpful.
That's right.
So what do you do when you're caught in that kind of that bind where you want to talk but you feel that you can't, or the other person wants to talk and you feel that like now is not the appropriate time? What do you do in those kind of situations? Do you know what I'm saying? So I think these are some of the things we need to think about, because I've said it before in a stream, we will talk about, between myself and yourself, some of the most random things on the planet. Yeah. And if we started talking to these guys about how intimate we can get in conversation and how random we can get in conversation, they may not believe it, because it's like, no, you're joking. It's a bit intense. Yes, you guys want to talk, but I genuinely feel as though we need to have this focus to journey towards having conversation that's untethered.
Yes.
All right.
Exactly.
And listen, I'm not talking to boyfriends and girlfriends, and I'm saying this very kind of carefully to those who are in a courting relationship.
Yeah.
But specifically, this is a conversation. This part of this conversation is for married folk.
Yeah.
Because we need to get to a place where we can talk about anything.
That's
we
right.
can touch on all subjects, and we can feel. We won't feel threatened.
Mm-hmm.
We won't feel insecure by speaking to our spouse. And I think getting through some of these layers. So we're talking about deep insecurities, deep emotional traumas, getting over challenges, psychological challenges from the past. All of these things happen by prayer and conversation. And I think this is very, very key. It's key for us to be able to get to a place where we can talk freely with our spouse, because this is the beginning to healing. You understand? You may pray about something. I'll give you an example. There are times when one of our philosophies for kind of, creating that rich and authentic love is forgiving fast. Being able to forgive extremely quickly. And I don't know about you guys, but when I've been in an argument with Sarah, we kind of got into a little bit of heated fellowship. For me, it's really difficult to kind of, or I should say in the past, it's very difficult to bite my lip and apologize. Do you understand? It's kind of like you're proud. Do you understand? Pride is there, and pride doesn't want you to apologize. The flesh wants you to stand your ground, and it will give you all of the reasons.
That's right.
It will begin to replay the argument, the conversation, and remember when you said that, you were right, and she wasn't listening to you there, and she didn't hear you. But as I said, just at the top of this, forgiving quickly is powerful. So what we have to practice, and this is a challenge to me constantly, how quickly can I forgive her? I want to be the person that goes to her first and says, I'm sorry, I apologize. And the reason being because it helps me not to harbour hatred.
That's right.
You might think that's a strong word, but I promise you, listen, resentment, dislike, all of those things, they begin to breed hatred. That's what it is. And you begin to kind of look at your spouse in an unloving way. And anything that you consider towards your spouse that's unbecoming is unfruitful and unhelpful for the long term, for the longevity of your marriage, basically. So, I think I know we're camping here a little bit, but I think communication is so powerful.
Definitely.
And we always talk about that, about friendship and communication being the heart and the core of good, strong marriages. Says, what can they do? You're in a situation, and I'm saying, forgive quickly and bite your lip and say sorry, or just to kind of break the barrier down. But what can they do? Considering something's happened, there's a problem, they're feeling some trauma, what can they do to kind of break down that wall of conversation? Their spouse has done something wrong to them, and their spouse isn't coming to apologize to them. What would you do? What can you say to them?
Well, I just have to keep it real. What I normally do. What I normally do is, I think for me, I always try to find a way to see how hard you are on that particular issue. If I know I've really hurt his feelings, or vice versa, you've hurt my feelings, I've hurt your feelings, or let's just say if I know it's one of those the more difficult ones, as opposed to, oh, sorry, and you're like, it's cool, one of those ones. I try to find, I normally try to work at a place first where, can I see if can I touch him? Will you let me touch him? Stuff like that. If I was to rub you the back of your neck, would you sort of go like that, or would you respond? I try to find, for me, I look for his responses with certain things. So I might say something.
So you are playing with me.
Technically. So I normally find a way around, just, how can I say it? I'm nice. In a sense, if you get what I'm trying to say. I approach you from a loving way. Obviously, from a more loving way. I think that's the only way to kind of really explain it. So it's not like I'm like, oh, I love you, at a point where you're not in the mood. I'm looking for your body language. I'm trying to respond. I'm trying to get back to that emotion, in a sense. I'm trying to find that to see if how upset are you? Because if you're really upset, then you will respond in a certain way. But then for me, I'm really big on diffusing quickly, and my husband knows that. So if we get into an argument, if we get into something, I might try and make him laugh, and I will keep going until I get a smile. And then once I get that smile, once I see his lips raise and his eyebrows go up, then I'm like, okay, we're getting somewhere. Yeah. And then I just kind of keep going, and then we sort of open it up, and okay, and then that's when we apologize and we just kind of keep it moving. But not everyone's like that. Yeah. This is the thing. Some people haven't put themselves in that position where they feel that they can make their spouse laugh in a very intense situation. Yeah. Or some people might just feel, you know what, it's not even appropriate to try and make him laugh right now. Like, how dumb does that sound? Like, we've just had this ridiculous heated conversation, and then I'm gonna go and try and bust joke. It's like, that's, some people might feel that's not gonna work. But it's not always just that. Sometimes it could just be, you just keep going, just keep going. And if they completely reject you, then you're just like, all right, fine, this isn't working. This isn't the appropriate time, and you give them some space. A lot of the time, just give them some space. You might go to the office, you might, and put on your headphones. I'm like, all right, fine, I'm not going to bother you right now, because I know you just want some space. But for me, I really feel like if you want to be the person to diffuse, if you want to be the person to say, you know what, I'm going to put myself forward to try and soften the situation, then it's just always best to just find something that it's not too much, but then your partner, your spouse understands, okay, she's trying here, or he's trying here, and then they can respond. But if they don't respond, you just kind of have to leave it for a little bit.
Super. And what would you say where someone is kind of really just edging off, and you're saying, okay, they want some time, so it's like 1 day, 2 days, and the hours has turned into,
I can't say that
to days.
What one should do, babe.
It's like that, yeah.
My days. No. Okay. See, look, I'm not about all that. Don't be talking to your spouse for 1 or 2 days, because I just think that's wrong, personally, because no one deserves to be ignored, in a sense, especially not a husband and a wife. No one deserves to be ignored, especially your husband or your wife. So for me, if your marriage has that going on a lot, then something needs to be done, and something needs to be done to stop that from happening. Because what then happens is, if, like I always say, if they're not talking to you, they're talking to someone else.
That's right.
You understand? If they're ignoring you, they're not ignoring the whole world at the same time. They're just ignoring you. And I don't think that's right. Because for me personally, if anyone should be treated with the most respect, is your husband or your wife. You understand? Everybody else outside, fine, yes, they should be treated with respect. But if you're going to be able to pick up the phone and phone someone, then you should be able to talk to me, kind of thing. It might be a bit forceful, but I still think it's deserving in a sense. It's deserving. And especially if you begin to put stops on things like that early on, especially, for those of you who are, newlyweds, or you've been married just for a few years, or, you're getting to the swing of things. Don't let that become a thing in your relationship. Don't let silent treatment become a thing in your relationship. Just make sure you leave that at the door. And don't encourage it either. Don't encourage it. If you're the kind of person, and even if that's your character before you get married, I would say you work on that. Before you get into a relationship, know that that's not something you want to do to your husband or your wife. There are people out there, they just have in normal friend relationships, and something might happen and she's not talking to her friend for a couple of days, and his friends like, just nothing, just silent treatment. Oh, what happened? But then you get you get married. Yeah. You don't want to do that to your husband.
That's right.
You don't want to do that to your husband. You don't want to do that to your wife, because it's just not, one, it's not respectful. Two, it hurts. It really does hurt, especially if you've both just had like a heated discussion, or you've had a big argument, or you've argued about something that just was kind of stopped prematurely. Yeah. Especially when you've had like an argument that stopped early, in a sense, someone's just stormed off, and it's just like, well, we haven't even finished here, kind of thing. You don't want to just go on not talking for days. So yeah. So
would you say that, just quick side note, so would you say that then that person, if we were talking about people who are considering courting, considering getting in a relationship. So if they have a friend who treats them in that manner, would that be a total write-off? Like, that person could never be their husband, never be their wife?
No, but obviously that's why it's good to talk. It's good to get to know someone. Even, if two people are courting and, he's done something and she doesn't talk to him for a few days, that's already a telltale sign that when they get married, she's going to do the same thing. And if it's not addressed, then he's permitting it. Or she's permitting it to then go into the marriage. And these are the things that I guess should be discussed during counselling and things like, how do you take conflict? How do you how do you behave during an argument? Oh, we've never argued before. Yeah, but how do you behave when you argue with someone, your sister, your brother, your mum, your colleague at work? Do you stop talking to the colleague? Like, it doesn't have to be, the person that you're seeing that you've had an argument with. You can assess yourself based on other relationships that you've had. So that's what I'd say. I'd just say
grow past it.
Yeah, definitely grow past it. Because I feel sometimes people who do give the silent treatment, it might not be the fact that they're bad communicators, because sometimes it is. Sometimes they just don't know how to express themselves, so they bottle it all up and then feel, okay, I can talk to you now, but I'm gonna brush everything. But really, it's still there. They'll bring it up later. So that isn't really something that you would want to take on into a relationship. I mean, I've got like loads of different points here, and one of the first points that I wrote is honesty is the best policy. It's better to just be honest about how you feel. It's better to be honest about what it is that you're dealing with. Again, a lot of relationships go into breakdown because couples are not being open enough. They're not being honest enough. How are you? I'm fine. How was your day today? Oh, it was fine. No, it wasn't. You had a big argument with someone at work. You didn't eat your lunch. You got work piling up. Share that with your spouse. And again, some people don't. A lot of marriages have separate accounts. They don't have their money all in one place, and again, we know that finances is one of the biggest things.
It's a stream for another day,
that destroys relationships. So if you're, so if a marriage is breaking down and it's due to one person's financial money management, you have to be honest. You have to get to the point where you're like, "Hun, okay, I blew all the savings. Have it out there and then," as opposed to wait for everything. So for me, like, honesty is the best policy. I'm as honest as I possibly can, be with you in a sense. If you ask me how I'm feeling, sometimes if I'm feeling a little bit emotional and I don't know what the emotion is in a sense, I might say, nothing, I don't know. But later on, you come and you say to me, what was that about? And I pinpointed it and I was like, oh yeah, it was this, it was that. Because sometimes depending on how we feel, you don't always know what it is that's causing you to have to be emotional. Sometimes you don't always know what's causing you to feel some kind of just emotional in a sense. And then, but when you stop, you think about it, you might be, it was this, or it's this situation, babes, that is really getting me down. So there's loads of points that we can talk on that particular thing about being honest. I mean, some people, the relationship breaks down because one spouse wants to stop at having a certain amount of children and the other wants to carry on.
That's a big one.
And that hurts. It's like, well, why do you only want one? I want 3, and all these kind of things. But if they're not honest, if they're not speaking up, it builds up and then it can spill out, and it can spill out to different things. My
concern is, why are you discussing that 10 years into your marriage? Why are you discussing that 2 children into the relationship? Those are things that should have been evaluated earlier on.
Because a lot of people sometimes, if I'm being completely honest, and those of you who are watching, if a woman, let's just take a woman for instance, right? If a woman turned around and said to the person that she was married to, or that she was about to get married to, she wants 7 children, and he's always only wanted 2, maximum 3, then he can be like, no, this is going to be too much work. I've got, I earn this amount a year. We have this much coming in. I don't know if I'm going to be able to look after 7 children, and I don't want to rely on the government either. That could put him off already, because it could be the type of person where he's already calculated things and he thinks, okay, well, 7 children, that's going to be and it might be, actually, let me find someone who wants 2, maybe 3, and quietly move on. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So a lot of times, some people don't even want to have that conversation. Some people just want it to happen naturally. Some people might want 7, end up wanting 2. So it's not always like a guaranteed, you're going to have the number that you desire.
Yeah, order is so important.
Exactly.
I think order is important.
You know, it's not always guaranteed that you're going to have the number you desire. I mean, some people want a massive family, but then as life goes on, they're like, wow, you know what? This is too much. Yeah. You know, I'm happy where I am. Whereas that's them, but the other person is like, no, but we can manage. Let's keep going. Do you know what I mean? We can do this. God, you know, like God will make a way, you know, kind of thing. And sometimes the other person be like, no, you need to look at things from a realistic point of view here. You know, so it just really depends. It really depends. But for me, honesty is the best policy, and being open. With the honesty, being open. Don't just be honest but then not really telling truth, if you get what I'm trying to say. You know, like you can say, okay, you're being honest about your feelings, but you're not really giving the truth. Everything. Exactly. Yeah. So you are being honest, but you're not really pouring it all out. Yeah. You know, so for me, being as open as possible is also another way to help in that area. So yeah.
I think, you know, like, for maybe someone who's not who's not spiritually mature, or for someone who's kind of emotionally, I was going to say unstable, but kind of emotionally maturing, those things can be challenging still, kind of like I brought up before. So it's and sometimes they might say, oh, it's easier said than done. They want to tell the truth, they want to be open, but every time I speak to him, XYZ, every time I share with her, XYZ, and it proves to be challenging in the longer term in terms of getting closer to that space of a real genuine openness. And one thing I'd say to you guys is, kind of progressing forward a little bit, is time. Yeah, it's really about carving out specific time to talk. I think if we can do that, we do it even on a weekly basis, we do it ideally want to do it on a daily, or you just want to happen on a daily basis, but weekly at kind of the next kind of phase of it. And you want to, every few days, every week, have time to have real conversations, so that you can become accustomed to that. Like we said early on, we were speaking on a regular, and I don't think it was much surface conversation. We went kind of real deep, real quick. Basically, we were talking about everything. We're really going deep on family, emotions, experiences, challenges, past relationships at those young ages, all that kind of stuff. So we really went in and really kind of got to a space where we were making a lot of time in quick succession to talk about the hard things, to talk about some deep stuff. And as much as we may not have planned out our entire life in those first few months, we were definitely touching on things that brought us closer emotionally, intellectually, and we were getting to understand each other more. Some people are in a relationship and they're like, oh, look, we've been together 15 years already. We've already been together 7-8 years. What do you mean start carving out time today? And my challenge to you is this. If you want something different, all right, you have to do something different. If where you are in your marriage today is not the place that you envisaged you'd be years back, if where you are today is not the place that you thought you would be, even last year or a few months ago, we have to do something different. If you are not experiencing the ideal life, the ideal love, the ideal scenario, you have to change something. And I'm not talking about changing your spouse. I'm talking about changing some of the kind of the features and functions you've got in your relationship right now. And you won't believe it. I think we shared with these guys recently about our date night in the car outside, right? Oh, yeah. All right. And it's as simple as that. We had our date night. We're sitting outside the front of the house. Obviously, everyone's in quarantine. We went to the supermarket, got some stuff for the house, came back, drove to the takeaway, sat in the car outside, ran inside, got some chopsticks and a spoon, and we had our date night outside the front of the house, sitting in the car. And what we did, we listened to a sermon, I think, and we kind of enjoyed ourselves. That's right. And we did really nice, actually. We did what we enjoy. And so obviously, listen, this is, a lot of people are still in quarantine. So gone are the days where you're in the cinema, you're in the kind of the nice restaurant. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like those things are not really happening. And
even waiting for those things to come back to then say, you know, we'll jump back on it when things open up.
Come on now.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? So even just waiting, like, we don't know when things are going to get back to full swing, if things are ever going to get back
to the way they were.
So it's, you know, we're really in that day and age now where we have to become creative in our marriages. We have to become purposeful as well.
Come on.
You know, we have to really begin to say, okay, like even if it's just driving to the seaside, you know, just driving a few hours, even putting the children in the car and everyone just going somewhere different, you know, just opening.
If that's permitted underneath your quarantine regulations.
Yeah, you can drive to the seaside. You know, but just doing things that you wouldn't normally do. But obviously that's kind of like a different, you know, subject.
No, it is. But I think it's in line in the sense that we need to make time.
Yes, because obviously we're talking about restoring.
Yes, we need to purposely carve out time.
Yes.
To get the things that we want.
That's right.
All right. We're focused on our careers. We're focused on certain specific relationships.
Yeah.
We're focused on certain certifications, certain goals.
Yeah.
There are certain things that we're trying to build. People are real focused on their bank accounts. And what I'm saying is the significant aspects of life, the significant people in your life, your spouse, I'm talking about right now, you need to make time for them. And this is not
time
even...
is definitely a big one.
And I'm building on what we were talking about before, so communication is key.
Yeah.
You need to make time to talk.
Yes.
Do you understand? Guys, a lot of guys make time for football.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of ladies make time for...
What do you make time for, lady? Let me know.
Do you understand? So, I'm saying, in terms of that, are we willing to sacrifice? And now we're here, and now we're there. I know you may be a big supporter of a football team. I'm not going to say anything so we don't get any kind of... hate trolls in the chat, but the point is, are you willing to give up a football game for a conversation? Do you understand?
I mean, even you know what I feel, gone are the days of sitting down watching football on the telly. Now people watch football on their phones, their iPads. It becomes this personal thing now. It's not even something that they might be sitting down and the family's like, oh, daddy's watching football, let's sit down and watch with daddy. Oh, mummy gets a cup of tea and sits there, oh, hun, what team is playing? Gone are those days even. Now people, it's a bit more, they're watching it on their phone, they've got the thing plugged in, not really noticing what else is going around.
In the house,
then you've got a lot of women spend hours on social media, hours and hours on social media, scrolling Instagram, Facebook, you name it, they're on there, on YouTube, watching all sorts of programs and stuff like that. So people, families and homes and relationships are being consumed by social media and by things outside. So like my husband's saying about making time, that's obviously where that becomes a key, because we're so busy with all these other aspects of life that we actually have to really dial in and make time to sit down with each other to say, how are we going to fix this? Because even people are using these as getaways.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, think about this. Think about two people considering courting, all right? And then you see this person, and the person says to you, okay, let's go on a date. Yeah. You go out for a date, and they're sitting there in this restaurant, they're eating food, and then the guy says, you hear the guy's got like a alarm on his watch, and it comes on, it's beep, 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 and she's like, she inquires, oh, you look kind of interested, what's going on there? She's like, oh, the match has started. She says, okay. She's quite into football as well. Who do you support? They start talking, and he says, okay. Then he whips out his tablet now, and he starts watching the match in the restaurant, and he's like, is that like you're considering dating? Would
someone even do that?
You're considering marrying. You're considering marrying someone, and I want to know, is like,
person must be the manager.
Would that be okay for you at that point that you see someone? They're supposed to be carving out time for you, but they now switched it up and they start carving out time for their pastime, their hobby. Yeah. And
that's a real reality, actually, of what's going on.
And this is my issue because we're talking about, I'm trying to frame that as two people dating.
Exactly.
Two people courting and saying, oh, you know what, I'd love to marry you. Like, let's just go, let's get to know each other. And you're kind of out there and boom, you start to see the real them.
Yeah.
Fast forward 5 or 10 years, that's what we're talking, this is married life.
Yeah.
People are pulling out their tablets, pulling out their devices, sitting on these things and detaching themselves, and they wonder why there are problems. They wonder why that there's no kind of emotional connection. They wonder why there's no, not just, there may be degrees of physical intimacy, but it's not at the level that they expected it to be. This is, it's crazy. It's really
even crazy. let's just dial in, guys. Okay, so during the pandemic, a lot of couples found themselves in major problems.
Yeah.
Okay, major problems. Why? They had so much more time.
Yeah.
To spend together.
That's right.
But they didn't know what to do with that time.
That's right.
Okay, they didn't know what to do with that time. We were hearing different results of different statistics of different things happening. Rising this, rising that, alcohol consumption, abuse, this and that.
Houses being sold because they couldn't stand with each other.
The rental market going up because people are selling houses in this pandemic, breaking up, selling houses, renting houses, and it was just like whoa, what's happening? What is happening? Because during majority of 2020, people were indoors.
Yeah.
You know, working from home, yes, but they were in each other's space.
Yeah.
And it was, and you know, the fact that marriages were breaking down in that period was kind of like, no, but wait, what's going on? You've been given time. You've been given the time that you've probably always wanted. Oh, honey, I wish we could spend more time together. See you later, love. Bye. Do you know what I mean? And you're off to work. You come home. Oh, darling, I'm tired. Dinner's on. Oh, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish we could have more time, babes. Oh, maybe next. Do you know what I mean? But then when the time really did come, people were shocked. It was like a big reality check. We're actually two strangers here. You know? And I really think that was a major, like an eye-opening thing in marriages, because, you know, people were like, oh no, we get on, oh, you know, we love each other. But then when the opportunity was there to say, let's sit together, let's have breakfast together, let's talk, let's take the children out to the park, none of it, it was just kind of like, oh, what's going on? What's going on?
Shock,
a massive shock. Oh, give me a glass of wine. Let me knock myself out real quick. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it was a massive shock. But then that really goes to show how people are not doing certain things with the time that they do have.
That's right.
Or they have had, you know. I mean, we're talking today about how to restore broken relationships. Right. Do you know what I mean? And it's one of those things for me, just being able to be honest, like, I love this person, do I not love this person? You know, why am I married to this person? You know, how did we get here? That's first of all,
that's right.
How did things get so bad that we're asking ourselves these questions, that we're facing opposite sides every night, or someone sleeping on the sofa? Or one of the ones that I read about a couple months ago was I was reading this blog, and the husband was saying that the wife kept on saying she was putting the children to bed and would fall asleep with the kids.
Wow.
Right? And that was her excuse. And I was like, wow, I know mums, I mean, listen, I know we like to put our babies to bed and everything, but you got to come back to your boo. But obviously, if things are not going well, and you know, they can't stand the fact that they're even in the same bed, but no one really wants to say something, using the child's bed as an excuse.
Yeah.
You know, sleeping in the child's bed because she doesn't want to sleep next to her husband when they were going through, a breakdown. Yeah. That's deep. You know, that is really, really deep. But a lot of people are doing many different things to get away from their spouses. Yeah. You know, watching streams till the AMs while their partner's gone to bed. That's right. And then when their partner's getting up, they're going to bed or just getting off the side. You know, so many different things. But I really just feel like there's a lot of weight. But I really want us to kind of like, you know, just get back on, because like I've got a whole list of things. Listen. You can run through. I've got a whole list of things that I really feel that we should really discuss. And the one that I really want us to get to, go for it. The next thing that I really want us to get to is putting your partner first, right? That's one of the ways I personally feel that people can begin to rebuild. Putting your partner first, really getting to know their needs, really getting to remember what they were like. Yeah. You know, remember what you loved about them. Yeah. Remember why you married them. You know, putting their needs first, putting their emotional needs first, considering them in things that you do. You know, because a lot of marriages and relationships break down due to things from outside. It's not even always inside. You know, a lot of the times it's things outside that is coming in and it's affecting the home. Yeah. You know, you open the door and the enemy's just like, yep, door's open, let's go. Go. You know, everyone go. And, you know, people are not realizing what to do to shut that door from the enemy, to say, you know what have they allowed in? You know, what has caused it? And then, you know, so for me, just beginning to get to that place where it's not, you know, we can get selfish sometimes. Most of the times, you know, people are thinking about them. What do I want to eat for dinner? That's what everyone's eating for dinner. Do you know what I mean? What can I be bothered to cook? That's what everyone's going to eat. I'm not going to say, hun, what do you want for dinner today? Because it's not about you. You're not the one cooking. You're not the one up in the kitchen sweating. It's me. So I'm going to make a quick curry. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Do you know what I mean? You know, so for in some instances, that actually is a bit of a problem. Of course. Because who said your husband wants to eat curry?
That causes, I was going to say, that can cause certain fights in certain houses.
I know that's just like, oh, Sarah, but it's a curry. If you don't like it, you can have jollof rice or something. Do you know what I mean? It's in the fridge. But what I'm saying is that just thinking about, especially when there is conflict going on, is what I'm talking about. When you know that things are breaking apart, things are not how they used to be, and you're really getting the sense, but sometimes as well, you have to try and pick these things up before they get to the worst, obviously the worst state, right? So just for me, just putting your husband, putting your wife first for a change, can make a big difference into what's happening in that relationship dynamic.
I think that's a powerful point. I think I kind of asked the question earlier when I said to you, how long should you wait for? How long should you leave them for? And you said, I don't agree with that dynamic in relationships. And I think one of the points I made was patience. I think patience is really, really key. And what you said now, I think really ties in, because it's important for us to be able to evaluate where they are, what their stance is, and then say, okay, you know what? I'm going to kick back and I'm going to put some of their priorities first. I'm going to wait. I'm going to be a little bit more mature about it, and I'm going to say, okay, I may want this, but let's go with what they want or what they see now, because I see it will be better for us in the longer term. And I'm not talking about, what I'm not talking about in terms of this is some of the major decision-making processes that might be going on at home. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is having consideration for their emotional disposition, for their mental stability, their state of mind, having consideration for those lower-level things. And these are the real heart of issue certain times. We may talk about moving house. We may talk about buying a new vehicle. We may talk about investing in one thing or another. And at a high level, someone may say, no, I'm not interested. But is the real issue that they're not interested in that, or that there's something else going on at a lower level that's causing them to kind of respond that way? Maybe knowing you want that, and they're saying, no, I don't want that. I don't like that. And responding out of spite as opposed to responding out of love. And I think the point, again, is really relevant to one of the things I had on the paper there, talking about love. So I spoke about evaluation and analysis of your relationship, and there are a few things we need to evaluate. So we've spoken about time already. I think one of the things we need to evaluate is our love. We need to be clear on defining what love means for you.
That's right.
And what love means for me.
That's right.
And then progressing from that, we need to take stock of where we are, like phase by phase. And this is where we talk about accountability couples. This is really important. This is where being accountable as a couple is really important. We were doing some reading together. I remember this was a few weeks back, and we came across some interesting data, just really talking about how a lot of people look at relationships and they judge them from the outside. So I want you guys to acknowledge that every relationship has an inside voice, we might call it, and an outside voice. And what happens internally generally stays internal and is only shared with kind of a small circle of people, albeit family. In some cases, it's not even family, it's just that accountability bubble. And then you go beyond that and everybody sees the outside voice. So a lot of the time, let's use celebrity couples, for example. You don't ever really know there's a drama until the paparazzi exposes it to you.
Right.
They don't come out and say to you X, Y, Z, or something happens, or there's a kind of a camera somewhere that sees something that wouldn't have been seen otherwise, and somebody exactly, and somebody leaks it. Outside of that, these things aren't known to you guys, and it's just like, oh, they're so wonderful, they're so rich. Look at that new power couple, X, Y, Z. But
they love that word, don't they?
Of course they do. But you don't really know what's going on over there. And I think this is one of the major challenges that we need to evaluate. That when we're judging couples, when we're judging people, we're really judging what we see on the outside, and it's almost the difference between the inside of a tortoise shell and the outside of a tortoise shell. The outside is kind of, it's strong, it's robust, and it's in certain senses impenetrable by certain things. You can throw a stone at it, it'll bounce off. Okay, you cut it with a big meat cleaver. Some people might eat tortoise somewhere, and all right, you're going to break through that. But the reality is, if you were to attack the inner flesh, do you understand? It's malleable, it's permeable, and do you understand? It's open to hurt and those kind of things. So we need to be mindful when comparing our relationships to other relationships. If you're not really close, if you're not really close to a couple, then you need to be very mindful and be very kind of careful how you compare your relationship to theirs.
Definitely.
So defining love is very, very important. If I know what Sarah likes, if I know what Sarah loves, if I know what her definition of love is and the intricacies that she sees in it, then I know and have a line in the sand to judge myself against whether I am achieving that or not achieving that. And this is key. One of the things that's key, and we talk about worldview all the time, But do I agree with her view of love? If she says, listen, if you love me, then you'll buy me wine every night. You'll get me flowers 3 times a week. You will ensure that at my beck and call, you are there. Do you understand? And then I might be, I don't know, I want this meal every day. I want you to kind of, it's like if you've got those lists of things and your partner is not in agreement, you're at loggerheads, there's an issue there.
Yeah.
Because then there will never be peace. And this is why the conversation is key, because the whole point of us conversing is to get to a place of peace, to get to a place of agreement. Yeah. Amos says, can 2 people walk together except they're agreed to? We need to find that agreement. And this is where we talk about restoring these situations. Yeah. If someone is hurt, if someone is burnt, you need to first acknowledge they are hurt. We need to agree. Sarah says she doesn't like the way I spoke to her. I say I don't like the way she looked at me. We need to first agree that the look and the voice were not appreciated. And then once we're in agreement, then we can move forward. The worst thing is to remain in that kind of, that place of ferocious selfishness, that ferocious battle where you're like, you know what, no, I've wronged you and I don't think it was wrong. I'm right about that. And this stubbornness, this pride eats away at your relationship from the inside out and ensures that there is no peace and there is no success. So really, I think defining and measuring love is really important.
Definitely.
You got some more for us there, or you want me to go on?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, obviously, but before one can begin to figure out how to, they need to figure out what caused the breakdown.
Yeah.
What caused the breakdown? What is causing the relationship to turn sour? Okay. So, for me, if I'm going to fix a meal, if I'm cooking something and I've tasted it, I'm like, no, this doesn't taste right. I have to know already what I've put in it, what I've seasoned it with thus far. And then while I'm tasting it, I have to be, okay, no, something's missing. What's missing here? And I think you've mentioned it anyway, analysing the relationship.
Evaluation and analysis.
Evaluating the relationship. Yeah. And I think that's really important, because if we are not evaluating our relationships, when something happens, it can take us by surprise. And you might have a spouse who is taking note in a sense. Okay, he did this. Okay, or she did that. She said this, and the other spouse is just kind of like, things are just day to day, not taking account of what's happening in their relationship. And then when the breakdown comes, they're like, well, what happened? What have I done? Do you know what I mean? Why? In some cases, they get to the point where the guy's like, I'm leaving, the husband's like, I'm leaving, or the wife is like, I'm taking the kids and I'm going, and it starts like, well, what do you mean? What, tell me what happened. It shows that person was not taking account of what was going on in their relationship. So for me, it should, when a marriage is breaking down, it shouldn't be taking one spouse by surprise. Because for me, that shows that one of the spouses, the spouse that's been taken by surprise, has not been paying attention to the relationship.
Yeah.
Right? So, for me, that's like a really important thing. Like, I'm constantly, looking at where your mood is.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying? I'm constantly seeing, are you happy? What's upset you today? Is it me or is it something else? Do you know what I'm saying? Is it work? Is it this? Is it a project? Whatever. I'm constantly kind of like taking note to say, okay, like I have a gauge, like an Ezekiel gauge, okay, is he 10 today or is he 5? And if he's on 5, I need to get you to at least 7 or 8, as close to 10 as possible. But then that's me being aware of you in a sense. And that's why obviously it goes back to putting the person first in a sense. We constantly have to look past ourselves. Yes, we've got the children. Yes, we've got everything else going on. But the most important person in the whole in the marriage is you. It is your, do you know what I'm saying? Your spouse. So for me, really understanding, your husband or your wife is a big thing, because when things start to go sour, it's easy to snap that up and say, all right, you haven't spoken to me for 3 days. What's going on with you? You haven't been yourself. What's happened? Do you know what I mean? And even this is where we're able to pick up the gauge, the trust gauge, like what's happening. Where we're really okay. he's not really, I keep bringing suggestions and he doesn't trust me. What's going on? You know, or vice versa.
Doesn't that type of mindset feed into insecurity? Because I've heard some wives in certain instances say that you never listen to me. You never take on the advice I'm giving. And this is kind of where you've got maybe some guys who are, you want to call them alpha, they're a little bit more stronger headed, they're a little bit more of a visionary. They're kind of edging forward with what they want to do, and the wife feels in certain circumstances, and maybe the husband in certain other scenarios, feels as though her voice is not being heard. She is not being taken into account in that scenario. What would you say to that wife in that situation?
What do you mean she's not being taken into account? Like, we're talking about like their relationship is breaking down, and you know, they've got so much going on.
If she says, if you would have listened to me, we wouldn't have been here because I said to you, don't do X, Y, and Z.
Well, but this is one of my other points. When a relationship is breaking down, we're not pointing. We can't be pointing fingers anymore because it takes two to tango. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's another way. That's one of my other points down here. You know, where we have to take responsibility.
Come on now.
We have to take responsibility for what has happened. You know, because for a marriage to break down, it doesn't take one person. It takes both people in that marriage to cause that marriage to break down, and whether someone's alert in that marriage or not, you know, and if the person feels like, well, I haven't done anything wrong, you know, or is it something else? Is it someone else? Like, this is not me. I've still been here for you. I've still done my part. I've still done this. I've still done that. But then, really, have they been doing it, but not? What's the word? Not consciously doing it, because we're it's easy for us to do things on autopilot.
Come on.
You know, it's easy for us to do things on autopilot. You know, have intimacy on autopilot, have communication on autopilot, but it's not. There's no depth to it. It's just we're just doing it. Do you know what I mean? So you know, so with everything it takes two. So when you say, you know, for a woman to turn around and say, oh yeah, but you didn't listen to me, we've gone past that now. Yeah, that's long gone now. You understand? It's right. The things are falling apart. We need to figure out a way to fix it. We need to get back on track. So at that point, you know, to say, oh, it's just going to make things worse.
Another thing that I know that has come up in counsel from time to time is, what do they say? You just don't get me.
That's a big one.
So, and it's again, like, my question is, after how long in your relationship are you now establishing the fact that someone don't get you? Do you understand? It's like, these are things you would have ironed this out on your honeymoon night, fam. You know what I mean? It's just like,
you can't say that. No, you can't say that.
You begin that transition at that point in time. There's not. Listen, what do you mean? Listen, don't get me. Listen,
no. Look, okay, as you can see, I don't really agree with that point, but
tell me.
And the reason why I don't agree with that point is because it takes years to get someone. You get me? Yeah, do you get me? Yeah.
I get you.
It takes years to get someone, and sometimes even the get that you think you've gotten is not necessarily it. You know, some people are like, oh yeah, my wife loves this and she likes that, and you ask the wife, it's like, no. Is it? No, I don't like flowers. You're joking, bruv. Give me a cup of tea or something. Like, I'll take a cup of tea any day. Do you know what I mean? Flowers, forget, that's a waste of money. You know, kind of thing. Or some people are like, oh no, my wife doesn't really like celebrating birthdays. You know why? Oh, maybe because when they started off, she wasn't so thingy. It could be the other person. Some people actually don't come across so strong because they've read the other person don't like something.
Yes.
So they kind of automatically shut off. In a sense, oh, the husband don't really like birthday. Okay, so I'm not gonna make a fuss. If he does something for me, fine. If he doesn't, fine. I'm not trying to throw him off. But realistically, in her heart, she loves a birthday. That's right. She wants to be spoiled. She wants to be taken away, but she's doing it to accommodate the husband. Doesn't mean she don't like birthdays. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So, but then unless she turns around and says one day, maybe on her 40th, and he's just like, oh, let's go out for dinner, and she's like, nah, bruv. You gotta be joking. 40? No. I've waited. I've let you off all of these years. You're going to throw me apart.
She's the one you were talking about before counting. She was counting.
Yes, this party you're gonna throw me. And he's like, oh, where did that come from? And it's like, oh, I've always like you don't want to deliver it like that. You get me? But this is where we've been saying that people have to talk. People have to open up. People have to be honest. Yes, we've spoken about MOT. We've spoken about checks. We've spoken about accountability partners and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to getting to know someone, it takes time.
If we're talking about two people...
I'm talking about husbands and wives.
If we're talking about two people who have been married for X amount of years and have never known that personal development is a thing. They have never known that they can have more than what their parents had. Yeah. They have never known that there's something else on the other side of their relationship. Not someone else, something else on the other side that they can both aspire to. I hear what you're saying. I'm talking about some people who kind of start this thing and they're kind of driven, they're motivated, and it's like you start. We like we said, we've learned a lot of lessons the hard way. We've learned some lessons by God's grace, just in a very blessed manner. And I think it's important when I say that halfway down the road, you're now saying, "Oh, you don't get me, you don't get me." From the period of courting, many people didn't court; they were dating, they were cohabiting. Then they married. Now they are together for a year, and they're telling me, and someone could say, "But you just don't get me." It's like that's a problem, because there should have been telltale signs along the way that someone was peeping. Someone was. Listen, I think that's a lie. Anyway, I think that's a lie.
Guys, so what do you guys think? This whole "you don't get me" thing. I personally feel that it can take time. I agree. I agree. And it also depends on what the person says "you don't get me" about. You know, if someone says, I don't even know. Like, I can't even think of a scenario.
Listen, you don't need to. Look, it's just that. It's just you don't get me. You don't get the type of food I like to eat. You don't get the type of places I like to go. You don't get why I like my friends or I don't like my friends.
But then that will be the person that you don't get me. That will be their fault, because the person saying "you don't get me" should have told so that the person can get. Yeah. Okay. If something is happening and I'm just like, this man don't get me. Like, why does he keep buying me this thing? I don't like these things. Hun, I don't like flowers, okay? Don't buy me flowers. Get me chocolate. Simple. Done. Another scenario.
But he maybe grew up.
But that's what I'm saying. That's his fault. That ain't my fault.
So there's a part to play on both sides.
Yeah, there's definitely a part to it. It's communication. When a relationship constantly, he's speaking to his friend, "Oh, this woman just don't get me, man. Like, every time, like, she just understand, I need this, I need that, I need this." Don't be telling the person on the phone that your wife doesn't understand you, that you need this, you need that. Sit your wife down. Put a cup of water in front of the both of you, because your mouth might get dry telling her all the things that you don't get.
And he said, "I've tried that, I've done that, I've spoke to her, but she just don't get me."
It's her. Well, then
she's tried that. He just don't get her.
Again, it's communication. It's down to time. It's like you said, like you've said it before, setting time apart to be specific, to be direct. In your marriage is so important. If you find that you're constantly experiencing the same cycle over and over again, every time you get into an argument, every time he walks out the door, every time she cries when she goes to sleep at night, and it's the same thing constantly on and on and on. This is where you need to stop. You need to stop and sit down with each other and have that hard talk like we spoke about. Yep. Every marriage needs a hard talk session, whether it's once a month, whether it's once every quarter.
Come on now.
However regularly you can block that into your diary. You need to have a hard talk session where you're thrashing things out
that are difficult to discuss in a safe zone where no one will be judged. Fortnightly, if that works for you guys.
Exactly. So, because for me, everyone is different. It doesn't matter how long two people have been together. It doesn't matter how long two people have been together and how well they know each other. Everyone is different. And as people grow, they develop.
That's right.
They develop. So as someone's getting older, they're developing. So that marriage should also be developing.
By the grace of God.
New things should be coming into play. But,
someone says, but they don't want to grow. They don't want to develop. They want to remain as they are. They are fine.
Get them to call me.
They said when they married, you liked them because they were fine, and it's the fine that they were that they want to remain as.
Yeah, but this is again. All right, and guys, please feel free to leave your comments, because you never know who you're helping with what it is that you're saying as well. You make that statement, someone's saying that they're fine, it just means that person doesn't understand what marriage really is, because marriage grows with people, and if two people are not growing, neither is their marriage. You know, if you married someone and that person, when you married them, they were playing computer games 24/7, yeah? And then you married them and you expected them to stop playing computer games when you got married, who said that was going to happen? But if they were playing computer games when you met them and then you said, hon, I hope this is not going to be a thing. This is a phase. Children are going to come in, work, all these kind of things. You're having the discussions and he's like, no, I'll play once a week. He's developed. He's grown a little. From playing 5 days a week, he's only playing once a week now. By the time he's got 3, 4, 5 kids and things are happening, he might have no time to play. That's development. That's growth in some area.
Some people develop firstly, I think development. I mentioned this earlier on. Development happens on purpose. So we must purpose to develop.
Yeah.
But there is positive development.
Yeah.
And negative development.
Of course.
So you've now said that this guy's going in one direction. He says, no, I'm going to do this way. But the truth be told, there are some men who play more computer games the older they get.
Yeah, but that's the whole getting away thing. You know, that's because I mean, if some people, if it's a hobby for the husband, like his leisure time, you know, and the wife completely understands that. Some women understand that, you know what, my boo-boo needs to play his 2 hours of computer game so he can release the stress, and she'll be happy with that, you know. But it might he's looking, but some women might be like, nah, bruv, shut that thing down. We need to talk about it. I say, why? You know, it's different for everybody, and I feel like marriages are like, I don't want to say like children. Yeah. In a sense, but I kind of feel like a marriage is sort of like a child. First, the child comes and then they're growing, they're learning things, and they grow along, they're learning the way their mum behaves, their dad behaves, their sisters behave, you know, and they're looking at the environment around them. Then, you know, they begin to learn certain things and then they begin to grow. No child stays a 1-year-old forever.
Absolutely. I'm not... This conversation can go in many different ways right now. It really can. And I think we need to be careful because if we start talking about the different dimensions in which a marriage can grow, that will take us onto a totally different space.
Definitely.
My thing is, and the reason I'm playing this hard sideline is because I want to accentuate the importance of developing patience.
Yes.
That's why I'm playing this side today, because I think it's important that we understand that patience is very, very important.
Yeah.
Developing a base of patience, understanding that this marriage is not a sprint.
That's
as much as I said, listen, from courting to the what do you call that? The honeymoon. That's a phase.
Yeah.
Those are a few phases that you've gone through,
and it feels like a sprint sometimes.
And by the time you got to that space, you need to have a good idea of who you're dealing with, what you're dealing with, and where you're going to.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm saying, this is why I make that point about, you know what, you can't tell me you don't know me because at this point in time, you know the raw ingredients that are about to go into this. You mentioned food. This is a soup. You're about to cook marriage soup. So now you married. This is the night of consummation, how they call it. And on that night, listen, this is the beginning of soup. We're about to start cooking that pepper soup. And I think it's important for us to have a good understanding that patience is key.
Yeah.
Marriages are not meant to last a week.
That's right.
Marriages are not meant to last a month. Marriages are not meant to last a year. A marriage is for lifetime.
Everlasting.
And I think the key is for us to understand is that as you marry someone for longevity's sake, you need to come into that with a mindset of patience. When we find ourselves in some of these relationships where there's emotional turmoil, there's trauma, I need to be willing to work through those situations patiently.
Yeah.
I need to be... We spoke about defining love. You think if you tell me what love means to you today, I told you what love means to me today, and we're not in agreement that by the end of this, formal meeting, that we're gonna agree that this is what love is, and from here, it doesn't work. And like you said, it takes time. And my thing is that I think some people don't understand really what patience is. They think, look, if you love me, you should change now like that. Yeah. And if I love you, it should be... But it doesn't really work like that. Yeah. And patience is fundamental to the love, the defining things, and the communication that we talk about all the time.
And it's when you're talking about patience, I just kept on hearing like protection at the same time. You know, couples have to protect each other.
Come on.
All right, you have to protect each other, okay? Because again, I mean, we are talking about restoring brokenness in a marriage, and a lot of the times when people are going through a breakdown, that wall of protection begins to come down.
That's right.
okay, that wall of protection begins to come down. And when I say that wall of protection begins to come down, it's, you know, it's the protection about talking to your spouse, talking about someone else to your spouse, talking about your spouse to someone else.
Yeah.
Bad mouthing your spouse, not saying thank you anymore, not appreciating, not being patient, not covering them in prayer, thinking to themselves, they pray for themselves, I ain't praying for you. Do you know what I'm saying? What have you done for me lately? Do you know what I mean? Just different things. Love, touch, all those walls that we put around our marriage begin to break down, but we have to do what we can to keep that protection there. And I feel like once, even if one spouse chooses, no matter what, I'm going to ensure that I keep that barrier, that I keep that protection, I keep that wall that we've built. And I'm going to do what I can to not let that wall come down. If that means I have to put in extra work to cover him, to cover her, I'm going to do it. Right? And I really feel like sometimes when things are beginning to break down, you know, couples can just be like, let it fall. One brick's already out. Oh, there goes another brick. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, by the time you know it, the Colosseum's fallen down, you know. But that brick of protection, that wall of protection that we're supposed to have around our marriage, you can't let it completely fall, okay? Because that's the foundation. That protection, that covering is a foundation in marriage, okay? So I just wanted to really that was really just on my heart to just say, like, you know, if you're going through a breakdown right now, if you're going through a hard time, it might not necessarily be a breakdown, but it might just be a hard time where it's causing you to think twice. It's making you think about things of the past hurts and all those kinds of things. You want to do what you can to just make sure that you're not letting that, you're still protecting your spouse, okay? Protecting your spouse, you know, because sometimes when people can be going through hard time and nobody can tell. No one can tell. That's because they've got their protection, they've got that barrier up correctly, because they're like outside, nobody needs to know what's going on. Okay. Inside, we have our accountability. People know what's happening, but not everybody needs to know what's happening. Right. You understand? And some people are able to keep that protection around their spouse. You know, they're not going to let the mother-in-law badmouth. They're not going to let the sister be like, I told you he was no good. Do you know what I'm saying? It's going to be like, listen, keep your thoughts to yourself. No one asked you. Are you married? No. Well, keep your thoughts to yourself kind of thing, you know. So I really feel like that protection, no matter what, it should stay. If you've married this person, it's your duty to protect them at all costs.
It's powerful. I think it was many years ago, when we were living in the other side of town.
The other side of town.
I remember when
you're so funny.
I remember when I would meet the young princess and take her home. We'd meet at the station, and I met a gentleman at the station, Mr. Pinder, and I'll never forget him. We would always go to the station. Our timelines would always kind of coincide, and somehow we would talk. I think he would greet the young one, and we'd talk on an occasion. He said something really powerful and profound one day, and it was super simple for some of you, but at this point in time, this many years ago, it really touched me. And he said to me that walls, I can't remember even how we got to the conversation, but he said walls are great for keeping things out. He goes, but the value of a wall is not just for keeping things out. Walls also keep things in. And it was so rich because when you're beginning to just describe what you're describing, that reminds me of the concept that Mr. Pinder shared with me. And when you think about it, we set up these boundaries, and these boundaries in the early days are there really to kind of protect us. So it's like, you know what, I need to make sure that you're good for me. I need to make sure that this is going to work for me. And then as you progress, it's no more work for me, it's work for us and those kind of things. So what you're doing now is you've set up certain boundaries, like you're saying, don't badmouth your spouse outside. So you're protecting your spouse. And you're keeping kind of keeping evil eyes, you know, keeping evil conversations, all those things away. So you're protecting the marriage. Marriage is inside the walls. But what you're also doing when you do that, and when you begin to work on the inside of your marriage, is you're keeping the love within the walls.
That's right.
And it's really important because we want to ensure that the love remains within our walls. We want to ensure that the hatred remains outside of our walls. So we need to work, as you said, the accountability couple is, it stays on the inside.
Yeah.
Our conversations, our patience, our love, our evaluation, our constant real talk, our constant conversations, this stuff stays on the inside. And what we're doing is we're fostering, we're developing, and we're leaving no room or roots for our love to escape.
Yeah.
We care about it so much that we're going to set up these walls, set up these structures to ensure that we're established together in love.
Yeah.
And I think it's really powerful.
Yeah.
And sometimes we need to ensure that we understand the two-prong approach of why we do things. It's not just to keep people away or to keep your mouth off my marriage, but it's also to keep the love inside the marriage, basically. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, man,
I mean, you know, sometimes some people can be like, oh, you're just too, you know, you're not open, and why are you so secretive, and why'd you make out that your marriage is perfect or whatever. You know, some people say certain things, or they might not even say it, but they think these things. Or you think you've got it all worked out. It's not that someone thinks that they've got it all worked out. It's that they're trying to work it out.
Come on.
Okay? They're trying to work it out. And in order for them to keep working it out, they've got to do, like what we've just said, they've got to have that barrier around. It's not that they don't want to, you know, tell you that, oh, things are bad. You know, sometimes people just want to hear bad news anyway. You know, sometimes people are just too inner, you know. And for me, that's one of the things that I'm always kind of like, okay, me having a conversation with you about my marriage, how's that going to benefit us? You know, how's this conversation going to benefit us? If it's not going to be fruitful, why are we having that conversation?
Yeah. A wise man once said, never tell your problems to someone who can't help you.
Right.
And I think I was talking to our little sister earlier on today, and this is the powerful thing. We're talking, and she was asking me one or two things, and I said to her, you know what? I'll be straight with you. Says knows me for this. If I need assistance, I go to the person who has the information. If I have to pay for it, I'm going to pay them. Do you know why? Because it cuts down the learning. It cuts down the pain. And this is the problem. Sometimes people in our environment, our circle, may have something we don't have. And rather than us to lift that up and to give them honor and be like, you know what, you could actually help me. I may be 30 years older than you. I may be 4 or 5 years older than you. You may be X amount of years younger than me. And I may feel a pride about it, but I'm still going to ask you because I know I can benefit from coming to you. And God, let me tell you something. God honors that. Definitely. It's called humility.
Definitely. Right. Okay. So,
girl, we've got
we're going to tuck into the comments. But you know what? Like I said, I had a few bullet points here for those who are, or even these are ways to prevent these things happening as well. We're having this conversation right now. You might not be going through a tough time. You might not have ever experienced having a tough time, but obviously these things are a way for you to, again, it's like ways to create defenses.
That's right.
Ways to stop these things from happening. So a few of the points that I have, I feel like forgiveness is also a big thing. When we're finding that we're struggling in our marriage and things are not working, we have to figure out what area that we need to forgive in, okay? Not dwelling on the past, all right? Not dwelling on the past. These are also mechanisms to not allow us to fall so deep into bitterness, okay? Because if we continue to hold on to the past, how are we going to move forward? And again, one of the points I wrote down here was about apologizing sincerely. Some people give these shoddy sorries. This crap apologies. Let's just say it as it is. Stupid. You understand? You don't know what you're apologizing for. Some people are sorry for what? And they start scratching their head, and the wife or the husband's looking like, look at you. You don't even know why you're saying sorry. Come on, get out of here, Jerry. And then they don't even want to hear the apology again. So it's about being honest. It's about being filled with love and coming and apologizing sincerely. Sometimes I give you jokes. Sometimes I'll go to Zeke and I'll be like, oh, sorry, babes. He's like, for what? I'm like, well, so basically, I think remember when I said, and he's like, sorry, you know what you're sorry for, come back in here. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember. Right. But sincere apologies, it means a lot to your spouse. All right. And these are definitely ways for us to reduce the level of hurt, because if we constantly keep getting hurt and the apologies are so weak and just meaningless, at some point it's just going to be, the other person is just going to be like, don't even worry about it. I'm not even fussed anymore. And they begin to get hard.
Yeah, because the person's integrity is being dismantled. Every time you come with an insincere apology, every time you come, you say, it's like, the person that says, they say, I love you. And the person says, oh, you're not going to say it to me. And say, well, I don't want to say it because I want to mean it.
Yeah.
And it's like, the meaningful I love you is more rich and powerful than the, I love you really.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's just like, you want it to be meaningful. So when a spouse is evaluating you, sometimes we think they can't read us, they don't understand us, but it's there, they can tell. They know, especially if they're switched on, they're engaging in you. They've been engaging in you. They're investing time and attention to you. They know these things. So it's important for us to ensure we're always putting the true and integral foot forward.
And a tip for those spouses, those of us who, when we go to apologise, we can't remember what we're apologising for. Before you go and apologise, maybe write it down. Write down the events that happened, just to bring back the memory, so that you're able to deliver a sincere apology. Even sometimes, if you can't say it from your mouth, write it down and hand the note and put a big heart on it and say, here you go, and run off and let them read it. We have to find ways to be creative in our marriages. These are not 10-minute sessions. They're lifelong sessions. We're in this for life, okay? So if apologising is not your cup of tea or you find it difficult, find new ways to say sorry.
Take an apologies class.
Yeah. Start by just remembering what you're apologising for.
Seriously. So first of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone who just shouted out earlier on about the sound. We're grateful. I'm not going to pump all those comments. Next to that, I just want to apologise to you guys as well. Probably should have done it at the top of the stream. Today is Monday. It is not Sunday. We do not celebrate Valentine's Day. That was not the reason. I think we were trying to get to that before while the sun was muted, but we didn't get it out.
Yeah.
But sincere apologies, and I thank you all so much. Those of you who are here with us today.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
We appreciate you guys. Listen, and shout us out. If you guys want more streams during the week, let us know. Put it in the comments, all right? Okay, cool. So
still waiting to open those phone lines.
It's coming. All right, let me see. We got a comment there from Osa said the audio is clean. I believe that
lovely.
Was. Then he says, can you read that?
Maturity. He may not be a laughable, leave me, but just say, let it be over.
Yes. I think we're talking about
this. Let it be over.
Yep. So I think some of that was touching on the early stages we're talking about.
He may not be a laughable. Leave me.
Yeah, we're talking about closing things quickly.
Right.
I think you were talking about the whole stroking, touching, tapping, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. We're getting there, yeah. So.
It's true. Some people just want to be left alone. Yeah, completely get it.
Cosmo says, yes, fostering those little things of dislike and upset breeds hatred. 100%. And I think it's important for us to really know that from the outset. If we know these things and we're aware of these things and we really care about our spouse of a person, we're going to make an effort. We will endeavour not to do those things and not to harbour those. And it's hard because really it comes down to logic over emotion. If you know logically these things breed hatred, but emotionally you're in pain, you're in turmoil, you have to choose between the two. Yeah. And I say it all the time, I've said it many a time, your emotions are real but they lie to you. So you have to, are you going to accept the lie of the emotion or the truth of the logic of the scenario? I'm not saying logic is always right, but in this scenario, hatred is not what you want festering in your marriage.
At all.
Cosmio says it's better to cut it off early rather than continue to sleep on the seam of the mattress. The Bible says don't let the sun go down on your anger. Yes. People are not so quick to quote that one though. It's true. I think it's very true. And it's one of those things that I was saying just now, when you're caught up in your emotions, that's where people want to stay. They want to stay there. It feels right. They feel righteous. They feel like they deserve it. And obviously on the flip side, there's that little bit of, what do they call it? That pout, they're pouting in it. So it's like they're seeking attention. Yeah, it's that attention. So they're going to give me attention because I am in this situation. So great comments. Thank you so much.
And also, funny enough, I do believe that is something that should definitely be enhanced and highlighted highly in premarital courses. The whole. We're talking about right, yes. The whole not letting the sun go down, because some people don't even understand what that is.
Yes.
Some people don't even, some people think it's a quote they've heard. That's from the Bible.
Yeah.
That's biblical understanding.
It's real talk.
So that's definitely something that should be pushed forward, and educated a lot more.
Thank you, Cosmios. Great comments as always. We got yes, bro. My thoughts exactly. Praise the Lord. What's that next one? It says, and I'm not talking about changing. Said I'm not talking about changing your spouse. Yes. Ladies, you want to go for that?
Yeah, she said ladies. Okay, so I asked the question. I said, "Oh, what do ladies make time for?" Because I can't answer that one. Sometimes ladies make time for spa days. Okay, yeah, I can definitely understand that one. Hair, nail salon, social media, dinners out, long phone, FaceTime calls.
Come on now.
Thank you for sharing that. Ecosmia says, that's a sign right there, getting out your tablet in a restaurant. Mate. But you know what though? Sometimes it is good to see how someone behaves before you go the long way, because that's something you could easily say, like have a conversation. Obviously not that particular thing, because hopefully no one's ever done that, but
you would be surprised.
You'd be surprised. Take out the phone. Oh, sorry, but just need to check the stock market. One sec. Do you know what I mean? This is like we're having dinner here, but then obviously these are certain signs, I guess, that people, both husband and wife, can pick up early and think, okay, have these discussions. Is there something? Do you have an addiction? Is there an addiction? Do your mum? Is your whole family in love with football? And then you realise, I'm not really into football. Maybe this is not the family for me. Yeah. But having these discussions, and you'll be like, oh yeah, me and my brother's got season tickets. But by the time you start hearing all of these things, that's why you have to get to know.
Yeah.
And certain signs are points for conversation. They're like door openers. Sometimes the Lord will allow you to see something that you need to see so that you can have that conversation. So it's very important to pick these things up.
Big time. Just two people in a house sharing, splitting the bills. Yeah, we talk about that all the time. Housemates. And it's important for us to really understand what it means to be married and not just be housemates.
Housemates. Yeah, definitely.
Relationship goals is another one.
Ecosmia says, but on the inside, there's no substance to it.
Yes, I think we're talking about, this was earlier when we were talking about that same, I can't remember.
Okay. Zee says, this is a great topic. Thank you very much.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you
very much. Ecosmia says, I remember I knew a couple I perceived as a balanced, loving example of a selfless married couple, all to announce they were getting divorced. This was even after I had dinner at their house and saw them dotting to each other and working together just a few weeks before. Don't compare yourself to anyone. People are pretenders.
Yeah, firing on each other and working together.
Oh wow!
And I think that's what she was mentioning before about the housemates and
right.
So obviously we're talking about the outside versus the inside, basically. Outside versus inside versus
yes. But the fun, you get that, and I feel that's why it's important, because you're building your own entity. You're building your own company. You are CEOs of your own marriage. You're not CEO of someone else's marriage. Do you know what I mean? And no one else is ruling over yours. So that's why it is important. Even, like you said, you can see a couple who have, who you think, oh, that's nice. You can take certain pointers, but don't go and banking on, them as the way forward, in a sense.
I think the problem is this, it's like, when you get dressed, in the daytime, no one knows what you got underneath your clothes. No one knows what you got underneath your garment.
Well, some people.
If someone don't come close to you, if you didn't brush your teeth, they don't know if your breath stinks. And listen, you're laughing. I'm just trying to be real. I'm trying to keep it straight with you guys right now. So some people don't perspire a lot. Some people perspire plenty. Some people don't wear deodorant. Some people do.
We get the picture.
No, but I need to make sure that it's clear. So the outer appearance is very different from what's going on internally.
Inside, that's true.
So I think it's important. I said it earlier on when I was talking to our younger sister earlier on today, and I think one of the things we need to be really focused on is that when we see something, we shouldn't be afraid to inquire.
Yeah.
All right? And it's just like, how does your relationship work? How do you make this happen? Like, you guys look so good together. You guys make this look so easy.
It's true.
And
it's better to ask than just be observing.
By the grace of God, for some people it is easy.
Yeah.
And for some others it's not. And we heard something really powerful last week, and I'm gonna just kind of just switch the context a little bit, and I'll say it to you like this: look, if your relationship follows after the relationship of someone else. But that's not what your relationship was called to be. Your relationship will be irrelevant.
That's right.
You need to be very careful that you don't model your relationship trying to be somebody else and you then in turn create an irrelevant relationship for yourself. God has created us all. Listen, I'm a man. I'm a male man. You're a female man. We are mankind. Yet God has created us for specific times and purpose and seasons with specific abilities to carry specific gifts. And that doesn't mean that some are better than others. This is where we kind of get into that carnal mindset where we're thinking about, oh, like me versus you. It's not about that.
That's right.
Someone is a great farmer. Another person is a great shepherd. Another person is a great sailor. And we need to come to terms with that. We spoke about this a few episodes back. We were speaking about, you know, the whole purpose of this thing here. I work on me.
Yeah.
You work on you.
Yeah.
We come together. We work on we. We build the family. And then we raise our children and we go out and affect our community.
Yeah.
But we can't expect our relationship and our effect on the community to be exactly the same as Jack and Jill up the road.
That's right.
Because their relationship and calling is different from ours. And this is why, like, I just have to keep it straight with you guys. This is why prayer is so paramount. Because your relationship, specifically, you and your spouse, is called to make a specific effect on this planet.
That's right.
And this is why we must pray. We must hear for ourselves so that we can make the impact God's called us to. Listen, let your relationship not be an irrelevant one, man.
That's right. Praise Him.
In Jesus' name. I pray for you guys. I think that's Zeke. Yeah, go for it.
I find it's important to listen to the unspoken the unspoken communication. Body language is so key, and I find it's equally important to listen to understand. Not listening to respond.
You know, and I'm going to be honest with you. That's such a great and such a rich point. And I'll be straight with you guys. Maybe say it a bit more than I should say at this point in time. But when myself and my brothers were younger, the way we were raised by our dad was to be observant. And I've come to understand a lot of what he was teaching us in a sense you would call spatial awareness. So it's like when you're out, you generally learn these things when you're in the army, or you learn these things when you're on the street, or you learn these things in certain environments. But we were learning this in the house, and he was teaching us some deep psychological. We didn't understand at the time, but he was teaching us spatial awareness, and it's about being aware of your environment. And there is no better place to use that, to utilize that kind of ability than at home with your spouse.
Yeah.
Because the purpose of doing that type of analysis is to help navigate the environment and the situation. So if me and you are together at home and I notice, Sarah gave an example where she's like, he will ask me how I am and then come back, and you heard me challenge. I said, like, what, later? We have spent so much time together. I can be like, you all right? And she'd be like, yeah. Or she can be like, yeah, and I will sense that something's off or not. So I might ask her, and she like she said, she may not even know at that moment what it is. She might be, I'm cool. Then later, it may become apparent. Even in the moment, we may work through it and it become apparent what it is. And it's so important. What Zeke has said here, it is so important for us to evaluate not just the words that come out of our partner's mouth, our husband and wife's mouth, but to evaluate their body language, evaluate the state of their soul, their emotional disposition, their mindset. Evaluate the state of their intellect. These things are important. You know, sometimes I remember there was a time I was psychologically taken out. This was years ago. I was out of it, and there were three people. Three people I had spoke to. 2 guys on the phone, maybe four in fact. 4. 3 guys on the phone, and my wife. And listen to me. It was the words of my wife that stabilized me. And then the words of these guys that I'd spoken to, that had known me for quite a long time, that gave me, that kind of refocused me. I'm telling you. And if she was not able to see into me and to say to me at that particular moment in time, listen, this is what's going on. You feel disorientated, but this is what's happening. Like, there are a few times that Sarah has done that for me in my life. But the few times she has done it, it has been significant and it has been pivotal. And I tell you this is why you must get to know your spouse. This is why you must permit your spouse to get to know you. Because, you guys got me preaching now. Job in the Bible.
Need some sound effects.
Listen, Job's wife said to him, curse God and die.
Right.
And if Job was a weaker man, he would have cursed God and died.
Imagine, then she would have married someone else.
And we praise God because Job had the strength, the goal, the tenacity to say to her, you sound like one of those foolish women from down the way.
She got a rebuke.
And it's important. It's important because this is the importance of knowing your spouse.
Yes.
Evidently, Job's wife didn't know him the way she was supposed to know him.
Right.
Therefore, she couldn't support him the way she was supposed to support him. But we praise God that Job was an alpha. Anyway.
Hit the subscribe button, share the video.
Let's keep going.
Oh my days.
Praise God.
Z, please. Oh, we've got some PowerPoints comments today. We're gonna get through all of them, guys. And if you're still keep the conversation coming. We love you guys. Have you got it?
Yeah, I think so. Okay,
909.
Yes. Oops.
Oop.
There it goes.
Bear with us.
It's there.
Go on.
Human beings are forever evolving and becoming, so the person you may have married 7 years ago is no longer that person today. So it's important to continue in the discovery process throughout. That's very true. Sarah is so on point. Marriage is growth. Yeah, and listen, I'll say this to you. It's true. And I think one of my key things in terms of directing my daughter in terms of marriage, directing my son in terms my daughters and my sons in direction of marriage is really evaluating the raw ingredients. When you're looking at someone, and listen, there's much here, and it depends on the stage at which you're going to get married. Because if you're marrying someone who's 30 and 40 years old, we've covered some ground.
Yeah, that's right.
If you're marrying someone who's 20, 25 and 30, they're still covered some ground. And there are different processes of evaluation we're doing at different stages in life.
That's right, yeah.
So it's when Zeke always makes the point that, look, we're considering people evolve and we need to consider them because 7 years and 7 years is true. And we need to be mindful about the raw ingredients that are presenting themselves today. Because when I told you guys before, I tell you this now, and let the guy watch this stream so he knows what time it is. When it comes to talk to me about grace, I'm going to ask him, my friend, what is your 20-year plan for your life?
And I'll be standing next to my husband like this.
Then I'll ask him, my friend, what is your 20-year plan for my daughter? You understand? Then I'll be, listen,
and we expect someone to ask our sons.
Listen, it's not a joke.
The same question.
And there are serious degrees of interrogation that need to be done. Because if you don't have the raw ingredients now, listen, we were in
where, babe?
We travelled about 2 years ago when you could travel, and yes, we went for a marketing conference, and one of our the guy who was mentoring us over there, he has this saying, and he always talks about there's two different types of marketing. Okay, now you can market strategically, or you can have what we call hope marketing. Now, this is not this is a believing station. I'm not talking about the type of hope that we see in the Bible. Believing, what he's talking about is, please, someone buy, please, someone buy. Listen, if you don't go out and take some money and buy some advertising, you don't go out and print some flyers, you don't pay someone to go and put some things through the door.
Looking at the screen.
It's called wish marketing. I wish someone would buy. Someone would buy. And many people are getting into relationships in much the same way. This is what I told you guys. The challenge here is not, can they be something great? Do they have the raw ingredients for greatness today, right now? Listen, it's the ingredients that they have today that they will have next year.
That's right.
Listen, ingredients.
Baby, let's read comments. He's not got him started. Listen, join us on Saturday stream.
Inbox me. I beg, please. I beg.
Oh, Kat Johnson. Nah, I think those... You don't get me. Thank you. I think those you don't get me people are general and full of excuses. There's different ways to communicate. If you said it and they don't get it, then you got to show them. That's right.
Cat Johnson means business, boy.
That's right.
Like, listen, I told you, you don't want to hear it, you will feel.
That's like my dad. My dad, he always used to say when we're going, he says, he who don't hear will feel. I love that saying. Ecosmia says, some people don't want to get it. And that's exactly. And you know what? Obviously, we laboured on that point and we spoke about that quite for quite some time about just the person at some point, like Ecosmiosis said, they just don't want to understand, because everybody has the capacity to understand something to some degree.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, 100%.
Says this flames in through, guys. Come, bring them comments.
Kat Johnson says each party has to take responsibility and actively learn the other person.
Come on.
Likes and dislikes, it just shows lack of communication. That's right.
See, raw ingredients goes along with that, like we were talking about just now. So we need to understand the ingredients. Do they have the capacity to take me where I need to go? Do I have the capacity to take them where they need to go?
Yeah.
Are we really compatible in a way that we can make an effective change on community? And it's like, looks can be deceiving. It's not always about what it looks like on the outside. Fine, she fine. Weeks and weeks we've been talking about this.
Not even he's fine, she's fine. Oh, my husband he doesn't complain. The wife, she doesn't complain. Oh, and I asked them and everything's okay. But that's just them on the surface. You know, we've gone past looks now. We're married. Looks is not even a factor no more, isn't it? What you look like is what you look like now. We're married. So it's not even about that. It's about how the husband or wife responds when in certain situations, when they've been asked certain things. You know, sometimes, if you don't stop to look into your husband or your wife's eyes.
Come on.
Yeah. If you don't have eye communication, stare at me, babe. You gotta have eye communication, okay? You have to be able to look in your spouse's face and see and know. You get to that place where, well, he's not looking at me anymore. Why is he not looking at me in the face? Why is she not staring at me? Why, sometimes, like Z already said, these communication signals are very important, and sometimes when a husband or a wife stops looking into their partner's face, that's a sign that something's really going on.
Some people are that way inclined,
but they would know, but the partner would know.
I know. I just want to make that clear. Obviously some people don't, so it is a general rule of thumb, but it's not for everyone. There are certain people who have that kind of mannerism and traits where they don't feel comfortable naturally, and again, this is something that we need to develop from early, working with them, making them feel comfortable that they know, they can know it's okay to look into the eyes. They can know that is a safe zone in that way. So just to add that, because
you got to keep on top of it, is what I'm saying.
100%.
In every you got to keep every angle covered. Okay. So where are we? Oh, where are we? Okay, Osa says, you are totally correct. Children grow. Some of us want to eat the cake and have it without growing. Vicky M. Thank you, sir. Vicky M says, I'm enjoying this topic. Patience is definitely one that needs to be exercised.
I think one of the things, Vicky, thank you for that comment. I think one of the things that people don't understand is patience is spiritual. It's a spiritual thing. We think that patience comes down to, what do you call that thing? Like willpower. But it's more than that. It's not just, it's like patience is really...
Can't be patient on the natural.
Patience is really an expression of love. And until we really work out things on the inside, we don't really get to reach these high levels of love, which is an expression of patience. And we take that for granted sometimes. So thank you for that. That's a great comment. Thank you very much.
Osa says, some married men and women want to be married and be single. Say no, sand barrier can stop.
So no sand barrier
can stop the water. Wow.
Yeah, and this is the reality. Wow. You understand? And listen.
But these choices have already been made.
But this is a point. Look, you see this.
They've already been made.
Let me just be real with you. Look, if you don't evaluate people well, honey, listen. Like, it's gonna cause an issue.
And this is what we don't want.
And when you've got a couple who are at loggerheads, one wants jollof rice tonight and the other wants a bar with egusi soup.
I will eat both now.
It's that's not an option. No one say I will eat a bar, you will eat a bar too. And it's a problem. If you look at what this comment is saying, it's like not sometimes, marital destruction generally begins from within. Someone says, no, it was the outsider. This is what you need to understand. The outsider was permitted access. Do you understand that? And this is the issue that we need to understand. So it's very important that we have a joint focus, a unified focus, and that we are in agreement.
Yes. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, go, babe.
What can I say?
All right. Okay, Ecosmio says, yes, at OSA, a sand barrier is exactly it. Ecosmio says, that one made me hit the like button. You should too, guys.
Please, guys, hit the like button if you're feeling this. If you're feeling it, make sure you share this video with those in your community group.
Osa says, at Vicky M, yes, patience is the only key to the barrier. And Osa said, Ecosmius agreed. Vicky M is laughing. Sorry for what? Yeah, well, listen, you lot know already. Let's not be saying sorry for things that we don't know what we're saying, what we're apologizing for. Again, I really feel like, we need to begin to learn the skill of apologizing. That's a big one.
So they'll be running a class on that.
100% easily.
Maybe I'll do it.
Kat Johnson says, don't just say sorry for saying sorry. I feel like this breaks down the relationship. Exactly.
Yeah, it's just like, listen, the integrity, you're messing with the integrity of your relationship.
Exactly.
Every time I do something ingenuously, is it disingenuously to you? Basically what's happening is I'm losing value for you.
Yeah.
I'm losing regard for you. If you acknowledge I'm doing that, you lose the same. And it goes back and forward. So a relationship that should be building, should be increasing, the wall should be getting better, building blocks of love and trust and hope and value. Instead, we're tearing those down because we're not utilizing those to each other, basically. So challenges, man, challenges.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like when we say apologize quickly, quickly doesn't mean 2 seconds later, oh, I'm sorry. Quickly just means not letting the sun go down on your anger, just not going to sleep with these, with all that on your mind, with all that, knowing that your partner's hurt or something's been said that isn't right, Even sometimes, some people apologize just before they go to bed, and even that alone will cause you to have a good night's sleep.
I tell you how it works. I tell you how it works for me. And this kind of will touch on Vicky's point for patience, and I was saying it's spiritual.
Yeah.
I'll keep it brief. Look. I work things out on the inside, and you might say, "What do you mean? We all do that." If we are in a heated space and some heated fellowship, things are not kind of where we want them to be ideally, and I walk away and I'm kind of in something, I'm quickly trying to process things, and what it means is it's about evaluating your own state of mind. I'm angry and I'm upset. Why am I angry and upset? And you begin to process. As I'm processing, I'm like, go and apologize because this was your wrong in the situation. Firstly, it's not about looking at her and saying, I'm sorry. Forget that. It's not about the outward. Remember we talked about the person with the bad breath that you're not close to. It's about working it out on the inside. So as I walk away, I'm like, you know what? That was wrong of me. I need to collect my thoughts. I can't listen. At this age, growing, I can't be the person coming back with 20 hours later and say, I'm so sorry about yesterday. Forget that rubbish. I need to evaluate myself fast quickly and realize that, you know what? What was wrong? So what did I do that was wrong there? Go and apologize. You find your own fault. You go there and you say, you don't wait for the person to come and say to you, you know what you did to me? It really affected you. We're grown. We are, listen.
Again, that comes into taking responsibility for your part of the marriage. Carrying your own onus and going and saying, okay, I'm apologising for my part to play.
Come on.
And even if your spouse doesn't apologise straight away, that's fine. Okay, that's fine, because they might be trying to figure out what they did.
And that's the problem. You don't want them at that point in time. If you expect them...
looking.
Yeah. Go on. And in your mind, you're like, go on, say sorry. I've said it now, wait for you. Listen, that is the wrong mentality. You haven't released them. You haven't released them.
Exactly.
Say your own part. Let them say what they've got to say. You really hurt me. I didn't like it. So and so. I know. I really didn't. I apologize. It was the heat of the moment. And then you walk away happily. When they are ready, if there is something, they'll come back and bring it up. And if they don't, this is why we have those set moments. And look, oh my goodness.
And you know what? As they're talking, if you've got children. This works for your children too.
Absolutely.
Okay, this works for your children. Don't be waiting for your child to come and tell you sorry for a big argument that you've had when you were part. You
had a part to play, or there's something you did that was wrong that you can bring forward and apologize for.
Not just because you're the parent means that the child has to. So that's why I say, marriages again. It's like children. It's like raising. Everything's like a learning. You're just learning. You're growing. Okay, so sometimes, you know, if you want to develop a good relationship with your children, it's okay to apologise to them before you expect an apology from them as well. But that's another topic for another day.
You can use hard talk as an opportunity to bring that up again later, only if you're not going to harbour it in your heart until that point in time.
Yeah.
There's so much to talk about. These streams, we can't discuss everything here, guys, as much as we want to pour it all out to you, okay?
Yes. Kat Johnson says...
Yes, oh, no? Live call-in.
Oh, yes. No, Ecos Mio says, yes, live call-ins. Z says, yes, phone lines needed ASAP. You know what? We're probably going to have a separate call-in show.
We'll work it out.
We'll work it out, definitely. Vicky M says, I like the idea of writing things down before you say them. This can help with your delivery of your apology.
Yeah.
That's so true. Thank you, Vicky, for acknowledging that, because that definitely is a thing. Like I said, not everybody is good with communication, verbal communication, but when they write things down, it's a whole new level of expression.
Yeah, we're getting into some coaching now.
It's a whole new level of expression. Okay.
The challenge is this, Vicky. It's excellent to get your thoughts out. The next stage of that is, how do you convey that? This is the issue. If your spouse is not a reader, and now you've given them some essay to go through, this can be, I'm just being straight now. So this can cause more challenges. So it's like there are stages of this that we're working through. So it's excellent that you can get it down on paper. The next thing is, how do you convey that? Some couples do that. They send emails to each other. They send long texts to each other. Like Sarah said, letters is something that's we've used in the past. And
notes.
Exactly.
You can just leave a note.
That's right. And these things do work. But you have to, again, know your spouse and be mindful of how to engage with them. That's not to cause a greater tension. You know, I can write a letter to you, and then she could get frustrated because, what is this man giving me to read? And it could work the same vice versa. So it may be, look, I wrote this letter. Do you mind if I read it to you, please? Are you okay for me to just...
That's a really good idea. Because some people, their handwriting's not the best, and you hand that letter and the spouse like, sorry, honey, what's this? So you might, you might end up, okay. So basically, this is what I'm saying. Listen, it's all part of the process.
Come on now.
Okay.
The journey of marriage.
Because not everybody went to uni, not everybody got a high level of education, do you know what I'm saying? And everybody marries someone who's different. So like my husband said, reading letters might not be their thing. So you definitely have to find a way around it. But it's still a good source of expression.
Let's go.
Okay, so I think we've got Ecos Meals. Please, how can people get in touch with you to get on premarital courses? And Z says, at God Life, there are so many topics that should be covered in premarital courses ahead of marriage rolling my eyes. So, honey, how can people get in touch with us?
All right about now, if you guys want to do any kind of coaching with us, any marital coaching, you have to inbox us here, or you can, the best thing to do is inbox us here, or if you go to the channel, the about section, there should be an email address on it that you can use to contact us. So if you do that, then yes. But just send an inbox message here.
Definitely.
Find us on Facebook, send us an inbox message, and we'll talk. And we'll chuck something out on one of the next streams, so you've got some ways to opt in for some of the stuff we're doing.
Yes. So we're still learning, we're still growing on how to build this channel and things like that. So guys, you know what? I think that's it for the comments. Baby, do you have anything else to say?
Listen, if I start now, I don't know when I'll stop. So
however, I just want to say,
go for it.
If you are experiencing difficult times in your marriage, reach out to someone that you know can help.
That's right.
Okay? Don't keep it all in. Don't think to yourself, this is going to sort itself out.
It won't.
It won't sort itself out. Because you know what? Once there's a crack in the wall, okay, I'm not going to mention Gorilla Glue, but maybe some plaster. If you haven't got something to seal it up quickly, that crack is only just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, so in our marriages, we want to be sealing up all the cracks, all right? We don't want to be creating any. We want to be closing any cracks that are developing up. So, if you're experiencing any kind of pain, any heartache, if you know you need someone to speak to your wife, you need someone to speak to your husband, get in touch with someone. Get in touch with us, like we've said, inbox us, coaching, premarital, whatever it may be, but just don't sit there thinking everything's going to work itself out without you putting the work in.
Come on.
Okay? So I just thought I'll share that.
Listen, if there's anything you guys want us to talk about, any discussions that you guys feel are pertinent to come out, we've got a long list on the register of things to come out, but we're happy to kind of take on some of the ideas you guys have got, maybe cover those in some of the upcoming topics that we've got. So feel free to share those ideas with us, either in the comments on this video, either via inbox, via YouTube, as I've said. From the next stream, I'll check out an email address so you guys can ping some stuff back to us. But please, 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 it's very important. The whole purpose of this forum here is to help you guys with your relationships, with your marriages. It is to help us reclaim God's design for marriage, and it's successful, it's fruitful, and it's an authentic love. That's what God wants us to have. So please, 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 guys, I need you to share this video with people in your community. If you like this video, you know, for that sake of the algorithm, they say like the video so that YouTube knows and they can recommend this video to more people. Our focus here is to ensure that people that need this information get this information. All right, guys?
And remember, stay humble in your marriage. Humility is key.
Absolutely. So, I've been Ezekiel.
And I've been Mrs. Diligence.
We've been here today for another episode of Marriage Matters Live.
God bless you guys. Have a great week.
All right. Bye for now.